We are live. Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. Bree with Apollo here, waiting. We have Melissa McDaniel. We have our guest, Zsa Zsa Poerter today. We are back with Beyond the Steps. I haven't seen y'all in a couple weeks. It's been a
Yes.
minute. I'm so happy to be back. And we have another great topic. We're talking today about what are some vegan-friendly eating options for dance athletes on the go. Yes, all of you dance athletes that are in competition season and performance season and show season and recital season, this is for you. So we're going to get started here in just a minute, but share this conversation. Make sure you put all your questions in for us. We're going to get Zsa Zsa to answer all the questions you have today. She's got some time for us. She's got tons going on, so many exciting things going on. We're excited to share that with you as well. And we're going to get started here in just a minute.
I just there I am. I'm coming up on Instagram. Hello, Instagram. It's Beyond the Steps Day. It's 2 p.m. Eastern. We are so happy to be here with you. I am so happy to have Bree back with me. She hadn't been with me for 2 weeks. I've been so sad. And I just didn't know what to do with myself. But now we're back together. The
So
team
happy.
is back together.
So happy. Peanut butter and jelly.
We have a wonderful show planned for you today. We have Zsa Zsa Poerter, owner of Exposed Vegan, to talk about what are these vegan options that we can get on the go. It is competition season. We are living and eating out of coolers left and right, sitting in corners in venues. And when you're vegan, I imagine that that's very, very tough. So we have Zsa Zsa here with us today in the midst of all the wonderful things that she's going to talk about that she's doing. She took the time out to be with us today. So we are so grateful for that. We're going to get her logged on in just a second here on Instagram, and we'll be back. So Zsa Zsa, you should see a request come up. Did you request her yet, Bree?
I didn't. Is she following Apollo? I can't. It's not letting me request anybody, but let me see. Let me type her in here and see if I can.
You're doing BTS _ guest.
Oh, that's what I'm looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. There we go. Sorry. See, that's what happens when you take 3 weeks off of the show.
There is Zsa Zsa.
Hello.
In beautiful kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us today, Zsa Zsa. We are so excited. I know that you have a lot going on. We're going to talk a lot about that. For those of you who are just now joining us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Zoom, we are talking to Zsa Zsa Poerter today about what are our on-the-go options for the vegan lifestyle. We are in the middle of competition season. If y'all are anything like me, all of your competitions have been 3-dayers. So you've been starting at 11 a.m. on Friday and ending at midnight on Sunday, and going strong for all 3 days. So you know what eating is like during those times. It's either really, really bad or non-existent. So we're going to get some middle ground here during this show. So without further ado, I do want to get started with the introduction of Zsa Zsa.
Yeah, so Zsa Zsa Poerter watched and learned that COVID was hitting the African American community hard, along with those already battling pre-existing conditions. Instead of complaining about it, she decided to do something about it. So Zsa Zsa is an African American female Ironman triathlete determined to make an impact on her community by serving healthy options. She's well aware of the stereotypes and barriers she has to break through to make it to the finish line, but understands health is wealth and is willing to help those in need of a lifestyle change. Her mission is to expose the myths about transitioning to a vegan diet, and there are a lot, right? Her restaurant serves juices, smoothies, oatmeal, loaded salad bowls, acai bowls, loaded sweet potatoes, soups, and chocolate chip and oatmeal cookies. I am starving. My mouth is watering now. You don't have to be vegan, but let her help you move towards a healthy lifestyle. She thanks God every day for giving her the vision and strength. She is supported by her husband and kids and encouraged by so many friends in the community. Zsa Zsa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you've got so much going on, and we're going to have you tell us all of that at the end. But we're going to talk a lot today about transitioning to a vegan lifestyle. There's a lot of myths and misunderstandings around being vegan. And so I want to give the viewers the origin story of how you came to be vegan. So can you briefly walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I was vegetarian, I'd say, for several years. The deal breaker for me, to be honest, was ice cream. I just couldn't get rid of cheese and ice cream, dairy. I mean, that was just my guilty pleasure. And so until I could find the right ice cream, which I did find it, I will say.
I'm going to need to know what it is because
I will definitely let you know, because I found some with different flavors and I found it at Walmart. So it's not even that I had to go somewhere fancy and get something super expensive. I was able to go up the road to Walmart. And it's just been a lot easier to be vegan. I think nowadays there's so many products out there that make it easier for you. So, I was vegetarian for a while. And then the deal breaker for me was, being a woman of a certain age. I do have three kids. I'm close to 50. And there was just certain things that weren't agreeing with my system. I was tired often. I have three children. I have one girl that's in college. I have one son that's in high school and one son that is in middle school. And it's just required me to have a lot of energy. And I just found that a lot of the food that I was eating after seeing a physician let me know, it was making me tired, very fatigued. And so I did a lot of my own research and just determined if I changed my diet, as well as arthritis that I do have in my knee, because I broke both of my legs when I was 17, just in my wild days. And I do have arthritis now, and in my left knee, because I broke my kneecap and I have a pin there. And in order for me not to have a lot of that pain, one of the things that the doctor said was, okay, well, you could have knee surgery, but you're in your 40s. So do you want to do that right now? You probably have to have it again in 20 years. So I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. I could take injections. And after having kids, I was like, yep, no more needles if I don't have to. He mentioned medication. And I thought, well, I can barely remember to take vitamins sometimes. So am I going to remember to take medication? And then the last thing he said, well, you could change your diet and you could keep your weight down. And I was like, ding, I think I'll do that. And so that's how my whole vegan journey started.
Thank you for sharing that. So just for everybody out there is a difference between being vegetarian, vegan, and plant-based, correct? Those are three different things. Can you just talk briefly about the differences between those three?
Vegan and plant-based is almost the same. I think some folks use the words plant-based where they're saying a lot of things that they're doing are plant-based. They come from plants and they're doing less animals. But vegan means no dairy and no meat. Okay. Sometimes people use the word plant-based if they have something and sometimes they say it's within an animal, and because it's fed by plants, that word is tossed around a little bit.
Okay.
Often, but definitely vegan means no meat and no dairy, and a vegetarian can have dairy.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. That's helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
So when we first started talking, Zsa Zsa, about you coming on the show, you mentioned that you actually get calls from parents in a panic because their kids literally came home and said, I'm vegan now. I can imagine a 14-year-old come home and be like, yeah, so now I'm vegan, X all that dinner that you had planned, can't do any of that. What are the parents who come to you most concerned about when their kids come home saying, I'm vegan now?
Yeah, so I often get parents, I think it's, young people are so much more environmentally conscious, I'd say, than a lot of us were at their age. There's a lot more education around health, I'd say, at school. And so, and they can do their own research, right? They're the best researchers on a smartphone. So Google is their best friend. YouTube is their best friend. And they understand how to use the internet. So they do their own research and they have a better understanding of, how animals are fed and what they want in their system. And some things that they're like, I definitely don't have. So they come home, have these conversations with parents and say, you know what, I'm noticing that a lot of things that are in grocery stores have hormones in them, or I've seen this documentary on animals and I don't want to eat them anymore. So they go from that and they decide that they're vegan. And they come into my restaurant within a panic. And most of the time the conversation is, How do I make sure they eat when they go to school? Because they don't have vegan options in school right now. So I don't want them starving throughout the day. Or I have a very active child. How do I make sure that they have enough protein in their system? And that they're just not starving themselves. Like, or I just don't know what to cook for them. Like, what do I do in place of meat?
Well, because so much, so much, the parents and the older generation, they don't know what any of that entails. They've never thought of it. Like I talk to my parents about a plant-based lifestyle or going vegan, and they're like, hell no, like that, like, that's not happening. That's not going to work for me. I don't have it, and it's just a very different mentality. So, to have kids coming home and saying that, of course, as a parent, you're going to worry about those things.
Right. Yeah. And there's also a money issue. Like people assume that being vegan is way more expensive and it's not cost effective. You're already paying thousands upon thousands of dollars for dance. And now your kids come home and it sounds like, oh, wait, you want me to pay like $400 or $500 more a month on groceries for this? Yeah. So there's a lot of concern there. And just, okay, here I go off on my tangent. Is that true that it costs more to eat vegan?
What? I think that's another misconception, because honestly, if you look at your grocery bill, what costs the most, especially right now? It's meat.
Meat.
Meat is what costs the most. So if you think about it, that's the problem at this point in time. There is a lack of, and kids know that. And they know how meat is being generated and what's being put in animals to generate more meat. And they don't want that in their system. So that's what kids are learning. So they're honestly doing that education and bringing that back home.
You're a high level competitor. You're a Ironman, which is just incredible. So much respect for that. What are the most common myths about being vegan as it relates to athletic performance?
This is why I did 2 Ironman races back to back, 6 days apart.
Oh my God.
6 days apart.
6 days apart. I did
How
Ironman
did you
Chattanooga in September.
Wow.
And then Ironman Indiana was October 2nd. I think Chattanooga's was 26 in the second. Because I wanted to prove that you can do 140 distance on a vegan lifestyle and come back and do it again. Because you can tell people all you want, and until they see it, they don't believe it. And I wanted to make sure that I showed a woman of color that completed it. So that was very important to me. But a lot of the misconceptions, just to answer your question, are you going to have enough energy? Are you going to be able to get enough? Are you going to have enough protein? That is the question that is asked so many times or mentioned so many times. A misconception is that you can't do that if you don't have meat. You probably would need a steak every so often. They're like, how are you surviving without having that? And I am. Clearly, I have a busy lifestyle. I have 2 jobs. I have 3 children. I have a husband in the military, and I'm surviving without steak. So
it can be done. And you're running Ironman. You're doing Ironmans back to back, being vegan. Anything is possible.
It's possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah. So that being said, with the people that are questioning that, right? Like do you remember, it was a couple years ago now when Game Changers came out on Netflix, the diet. How do you feel like that's an accurate representation? Because I feel like that rocked people's world watching that. I know everybody in my life. Yeah.
I watched that, especially, and I love the majority was men. Because you saw bodybuilders, you saw football players, you saw his wife who was the vegan chef. And I watched and I was like, me and my kids watched it, both of my boys. And I was like, I could totally do that. Like I could totally make the food that she's making. I could switch things up. And I actually like to cook. I love to chop. I love to do certain things. And I actually watched it before the pandemic. And so then when the pandemic hit, I was like, I need to make sure our immune systems are up. I need to make sure that we're healthier. I haven't been sick this entire time, thank God.
Wow.
And I've just noted, I really think it has a lot to do with my lifestyle and what I'm eating and what I'm putting in my body. I can't remember the last time I had a cold. I haven't got a cold the entire pandemic.
Wow.
It's incredible. For those joining, I am Bree with Apala, chatting with, we're back with Beyond the Steps. Melissa McDaniel and I, we're back together, peanut butter and jelly. We're talking with Zsa Zsa Poerter today about what are some vegan-friendly options for dance athletes on the go. Really important as we're in this really busy time of competing and recitals and performances, and end of the year period is just super busy for everybody. Especially with school age children, right? So Zsa Zsa, in the dance world, we're always on the go. As I just mentioned, we're traveling to and from venues. Sometimes we're in these dark, dank, auditoriums that, have very limited, they have some really chintzy concession stand with some nachos and a hot dog, right? Places where there are very little food options. So are there actually vegan friendly fast food options available when you're on the road that you would recommend for people?
Honestly, what I find, even when I'm traveling as an athlete, you start to get used to what you're eating. I'll say once you start to go from one lifestyle to another, you start to lose some of the toxins and bacteria that is in certain foods. And most vegans cook a lot for themselves. I'd say most vegans don't eat out often, unless there's, a day during the week that they don't have time. I find even the people that come to my restaurant, a lot of them are trying to transition. They're not necessarily vegan, because
they might be more plant-based. They might be more plant-based.
Or they're vegetarian and they're trying to move to vegan. So a lot of the times, if you're vegan, you've come up with your own routine, you've changed your lifestyle. A lot of it requires planning for you to plan what you're going to eat, just like you know what you're going to wear, you know what you're going to do this week. You need to plan what you're going to eat, just like you plan your workouts. You know when you're going to do that. So that's really what it requires. And I find when I travel, especially if you're going to a venue, there's not a lot of options. I often don't find that there's a lot. But one thing that I can say, because of the pandemic, something that it has created is there's been a lot of vegan restaurants that have popped up over this period of time. Several people recognize the need. And even here in Charlotte, there are several, like I'm not the only person who opened a restaurant during the pandemic. And so that's the great thing. But it is a little bit hard to go out, to eat or to travel. And so I do recommend that you can pack your own things, which is what I do often, especially since you're used to eating your own food. I'd say as an athlete, and I say this specifically for athletes, the last thing you want to do is go somewhere, eat something that was cooked near something else, and then you have all that in your gut and you're sick before a competition. And so, there are things that I would recommend, but I honestly recommend that you pack your own things that you're taking to practice with you all the time, so that you don't get in a situation that you've traveled and now you're sick because you had something foreign, which is not what you're used to. And that's a new bacteria or toxin that you've reintroduced to your body, that's going to interfere with your performance. And so that's what I really try not to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I want to take this time to mention too, Caroline Lewis Jones, for those of you that aren't familiar, she has been a guest with us before on the show. And she does a really good job. She's travels with the national convention, and she packs her stuff every weekend as a faculty member and brings a little cooler with her on the road full of plant-based and vegan snack and food options, and makes all of her own food. And she does a lot of demos on her page. So we'll be sure to link that for you all. If anybody that's looking for like snack ideas and things like that, we'll link that all after this is over. But are there any vitamins and supplements as a vegan that you would recommend specifically for dancers or other athletes that you think would be helpful at maintaining that sort of lifestyle?
I love almost every vegetable, but say you're starting out, I know there's several folks that are like, I'm letting them know to be vegan, to get your protein. You should
My
really
phone does that all the time. It's okay.
You should really make sure that you're having a lot of greens.
Okay.
Greens are the things that you get the most protein from. And what I always recommend is that you have kale, you have broccoli, you have Brussels sprouts. But there's some folks that are just not there yet. There's some green vegetables that they like, and others that they're just like, all right, they're in the trying new things phase because, they're willing to step out of their comfort zone and try something. And so what I would always recommend is that you take a multivitamin, especially for women. If you're traveling with the child, for kids, I would do vitamin C. But I would always try to encourage them to eat a lot of green vegetables. And if you can, each green vegetable has a different type of vitamin. So sometimes I would mix them together, like spinach, chop up kale. Kale should be massaged because it is a rough green vegetable. So I like to massage it. It's a rough vegetable. So I would massage it, chop it up real small, and sprinkle it on top of mixed greens, add a few spinach. And that way you're getting multiple vegetables and green vegetables at the same time. And it's not so taxing to be like, okay, I had some of this. Now later I'll have that. You can add it all in together. And that's going to give them a boost of energy.
So do most people, Melissa, I don't remember where we heard this, but I feel like we had this conversation. Maybe it was with Caroline, but do most people get more protein than what they need? Because I think people put this emphasis on protein, right? Like there's this big emphasis on protein, but I think there was some study or research that was done that showed that most people consume too much protein, right?
Like that at some point it's overkill and your body can't process it as well.
Yeah. I haven't found that too much with vegans. I've found that folks need to make sure they have a colorful plate to make sure that they're getting, as many vegetables as possible. I think sometimes that happens when you have a lot of meat. You can have too much protein, but veggies or drinking juices that are fresh, that allows you to get your greens and stuff faster. And it allows the waste to move from your body faster. You find folks that eat clean, which we kind of call that eating clean, they'll move their bowels quite a bit. And so that waste will be leaving your body more often. It's not stuck in your gut, sitting there waiting for everything to process and for you to digest it. So what you'll find is that they'll need to eat more often, maybe not having enough protein unless they're eating more often during the day.
Yeah. Exactly. And I just mean too, like that's a good, for people that are hesitant about a vegan lifestyle or plant-based or vegetarian, whatever it is, that is something to consider is that you may be putting an emphasis on protein, but it may not need to be there. So just think about that, because you can get that being vegan.
Right. Exactly. So there's pros and cons to everything. I know that you're definitely pro-vegan, and I can definitely see all of the benefits, but are there any cons to a vegan diet? What are some of the things that you need to remember that might be, things you need to consider as an athlete specifically when you're pursuing this vegan lifestyle?
I mean, one thing to consider is it just requires a lot of planning.
Yeah.
So if you're not an organized person to plan, this is definitely something that you're going to have to be intentional about. It is not something you can forget about, because then you're looking all over the place for like, what am I going to eat? If you don't plan out your meals. When you're trying to go to a social event, I would look at the menu to see if you're going to meet people for dinner. I will look and see what they had. I'm not one that always likes to go and eat French fries. Just because I'm vegan, it doesn't mean that I'm looking through the menu and it's like, well, I can have fries. Like, don't potato me to death.
Right.
So, I would look at, if you're going to go out to eat, sometimes you may want to have something before you go. That's one of the cons, because you may get there and realize like, oh, I thought is that cheese? And if you haven't had cheese for even a month, some people do a 30-day, and you immediately have it after, you're going to have a really bad tummy ache.
Right.
So I would definitely, if you're going to go out and meet people, I'd look ahead of time, plan. You're traveling, I would look for, again, there are vegan restaurants, there's a lot of them, but I would look ahead before you go. Just like you're planning a trip and you're figuring out what are the, excursions you're going to want to do, figure out where you're going to want to eat, where you can get groceries, where you can access, because most of the time you're probably cooking or preparing things, and how can you have things that you have at home, or where are the places that you can look in advance, especially if you're traveling with friends and be like, hey, here's 5 that work for me. And as you guys are thinking, this part of the steakhouse, there's a place right down the block that has, I think, good options for all of us, that we can all work from. So those are the things that I'd recommend.
Thank you.
Off on a quick tangent. How do you make vegan food and snacks more flavorful? That's another thing that I've heard. Like it's bland, it's just plants, like it's not. Is it just use of spices or the way that you prepare it? Or is it that we just need to come to restaurants like yours and let the professionals do it? Like how does
Well,
this work?
you know what it is? I think the myth is that because you're vegan, you don't like seasoning. Like
Yeah.
I still season my food. So and I have a garden, so I find that I like fresh herbs. I've come
Love
to love
herbs.
that so much more than having dried spices, because
Mm-hmm.
that's been sitting for a long time. And you'll find if you have fresh herbs, that gives a lot more flavor to your food. And then
Mm-hmm.
you don't require things like salt. But I still
Mm-hmm.
season my food. I don't put as much salt in food. I like
Mm-hmm.
to add other flavors. Like I still use curry. Like if you think of where seasoning come from,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
most of it is plants.
Plants, right?
So
Yeah,
like you're still getting, it's just not chicken broth.
right.
But you can get, if you look at seasonings, I mean, you're seeing basil, oregano, like
Yeah.
all those things, sage, it's all plants. So
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, and so I'm sure you do this, but a lot of it too, like I've come to realize, because I have a big, I feel like I could make that leap if it wasn't like I'm like one step short of that because of my schedule and my kids.
Uh-huh.
But
yeah.
when I follow a lot of plant-based accounts, and like Olivia Herzog is one, they
Mhm.
make like big, cheesy looking sauces out of plants, and
Yeah.
like, nice
Right.
dressings, but it's all,
Yeah.
plant-based, and
And you
there's
can
no meat.
simplify it though. You can simplify it. I mean, you can work your way up there. That's a journey. For me, my stuff is so much more simple.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just doing a whole large plate roast of a whole bunch of veggies.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet where I'm making these beautiful
Yeah.
sauces. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
making like half of my plate is like different types of green vegetables. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll add,
Yeah.
maybe a red or yellow pepper to it and have that roasted, like to add some more color to make sure that I have a colorful plate. But if you don't have the sauces, I mean, I didn't do sauces that much when I had
Yeah.
you. So
Right.
So do
having to do
you
it now.
cook your food a lot, or is it more of a like a raw cooked mix? Like is there
Um,
a difference?
So I'm not a completely raw vegan. I
Okay.
do
Okay.
cook a lot of food. I think I do more raw food at night because I just find for myself, being a woman over 45 plus, that if I eat a lot of stuff late at night, that it shows up here in the morning, like I'm having kids.
Right. Right.
So I
Mm-hmm.
find that
Bloating.
later, yes, when I find that later in the day, I may have more raw vegetables, but during in the morning, I mean, I eat. Like I have loaded sweet potatoes. There's all kinds of stuff piled on there.
Wow.
I mean, I bike over 100 miles, throughout the summer, every weekend. So, because
Wow.
I'm going to be getting ready for Ironman Alaska. I'm so excited about that
Woo!
race.
Wow.
Um, and I'm going back to Cozumel to do Ironman Cozumel. I mean, I go to the fun locations. I'm not
Yeah,
just
you
Right.
doing
do.
this and going up the road. So, if I'm going to torture myself with this training, I'm going to go somewhere fun. It's going to be a family vacation. And when I'm
Right.
done training, I want food. Like I want a
Yeah.
huge plate of a whole bunch of veggies.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that that's going to go through me and I'm going to eat again. So
Mm-hmm.
a couple
Yeah.
hours later, so I'm not vegan doesn't mean that you're sitting there torturing yourself,
Yeah.
and you
Right.
don't have to overcomplicate it. I mean, there are those things that are great. It's fancy. Take one of those dishes maybe a month and a half at a time and say, maybe
Yeah.
I'll try this and I can add it over some cauliflower rice. You
Mm-hmm.
can be fancy
So
there.
don't make it
Get color
overwhelming.
right.
Keep
Yeah,
it simple.
keep it
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Meet yourself halfway, say if you like carrots, that's an orange vegetable. If you like plantains, that's yellow. Just try to think
Mm-hmm.
about the things that you can make
The
colorful on your
colors.
plate.
Mm-hmm.
And that means you're getting more vitamins. And then sometimes you can kind of ditch the multi. That's
Yeah.
what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
I'm going to give you a real life scenario. This is probably like my life next weekend. So
Okay.
I'm going to give you this scenario. So real life scenario, you got a dancer. We'll call her Sarah for the day. She's 16. She's transitioned
Yep.
to a vegan lifestyle. She's at a dance competition that runs Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. each day. Walk
Yep.
us through what her parents or adults need to pack in the cooler or snack bag to sustain energy and keep her satisfied.
Yep. And because she's dancing, so she's not going to want heavy things. And I have my oldest son goes to Northwest. He is performing arts. So he has days like that where he has several shows. He has 2 shows that he's working through right now in the Blooming Awards. So for him, I do several things. I pack like snack bags. So for him, he likes grapes. Like he likes different things to snack on. So I put that in a baggie. I would be careful with bars. Like some people like, bars. When you do that, there's so many options out there. Turn the box around and look at the sodium count. Salt your child to death. My son's favorite, which we came to terms with, are the Nature Valley Train.
Really?
And nut bars. Because when you look on the back of them, if you look at the box of them, like the chewy ones, and kind of look at the sodium, and it's like, ooh, that's a lot that I want to be giving to my kid while they're, competing or they're exercising. All that. I want them to get energy, not to feel like their body is breaking them down.
Right.
Other things that I get for him is applesauce. Like apples are so great for you. Cholesterol. I mean, you can look up the different fruits that your child likes, vitamin C in little tangerines. Like my son does that. You can like buy granola, or you can make granola yourself. You can take oats, make a whole tray of it, add some agave there, add some cranberries. Just don't make it overwhelming for yourself. And just ask the child. Take them to the grocery store and say, what are some of these things that you like here, not in the aisles, that you think you'd want to take with you? And they'll start to tell you, okay, I like, tangerines. One child likes tangerines. The other child likes grapes. So I'm like, okay, we'll put that in the bag. Another one says, I could do it with a smoothie in the morning. They have all these things now where you can like make a smoothie on the go. So you can kind of leave from the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many resources out there where you could take it. They can take it with them, blend it. They got it. And you can make yourself like a smoothie pack. Like I do this for my kids. This is normally in the freezer to save time. Like, again, the key is planning. So you could take like strawberries, kale, mix that in with some almond milk or coconut water and just add that in, put it in one of these things. Let's go.
Yeah.
You got your drink before you got your water with you, got all your little snacks. And then I kind of meal prep. Let me get what I make my son.
I love it. See, this makes me go, I'm just going to do it. I'm
just going to do it. And then I do it. Oh, look,
I know.
So it's like a little bento box.
So I make this for my son. And it's like, he has like different types of greens underneath, apples, strawberry, blueberries, and like avocado. And I have one child that he's like, I'm trying to get them protein, making sure they have enough greens and protein. One likes almonds, but the other one likes it with wasabi. So I looked on the back, the sodium is not high. So that's another thing that you can get them. But talk to the child, figure out what they like, and put a plan together and pack it.
Yeah, I love those smoothie bags. So if you're traveling,
and I make those on Sundays.
So
I freeze it, put it in the.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes, this is going to go in the freezer. I put it in the cooler as I leave, and then it can go in this to go thing.
Okay. So the smoothie bags on Sunday. It seems like I'm gonna do it.
I know, Melissa, you have to try it. Like we always have to try to practice some of this stuff.
Talk to me next week and see how many smoothie bags
I say that and I'm like, but Sunday, I'm going to try Sunday to make baggies. And that's
because just for you in the morning, it's like I work out early in the morning, then I'm like every other mom running in the house, everybody up, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm getting them together. They have cereal, I'm making breakfast for another one. And I'm like, okay, for me, grab a bag. I made it over the weekend and making sure you have all the right things. Like I have flax seeds, I have chia seeds, and I put all that in the bag so that I can make sure that I stay regular. All that stuff is not in my gut because that's fiber, that's energy for me. Throw it in the blender, done. So you don't have to think about, so you have to make my smoothie. What do I want to do? All that thought, you got to think.
So you do your smoothie, but then what do you do for the rest of the day? Like how soon after that are you eating again?
I'm eating this. I'm eating grapes. I mean, I eat all the time. I eat all day long.
Okay, got it.
But the thing is, if you're eating the right things, then it's not a problem. It's when you eat bad things. Like if you're eating French fries all day, okay, well, your body's like, what is going on?
Right. Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this? There's nothing for me to feed off of to give me some energy, you know? So it starts to break down. But if you're giving it all the right things all day long, then you're constantly moving. When they feel that you're getting kind of tired, it means your body's hungry. It needs something to help you.
Seize fuel.
Got it.
Right. And I think that the structure of a competition day doesn't even serve that. We need to start thinking about it different. We have the lunch break and the dinner break, and then your go in between. And really what we need to be doing is constantly kind of like shoving things in their mouths. Like,
and it's like going in between, take a grape, you know, in between, there's this. In between that, there's a bar. Like there's all these things that you can compact. And that's really what my son does. He has this big bag that's full of all these different snacks that he's just eating all day. I look in there and it's like, okay, it's gone.
But the right things. And that's the thing I used to notice as a director is like, I would see the kids. Right. I would see the Cheetos come out. Right.
Yeah,
and sometimes you see the grapes, but like the Cheetos and the chips and like things that they're like pretzels, you know, things that.
And then the parents wonder, like, what is going on with your skin? Why are you always so tired? Like all that stuff, that grease is coming out of their pores. Like that's what's really happening.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
So I heard you say your staples, meat, nuts and seeds. Are there any other staples that you should always have in your pantry or refrigerator to keep these kids fed?
Well, and I'm going to add on to that because dancers dance, they dance hard for a short spurt of time and they relax. And then they dance hard again for a short period of time and relax. So any foods that help with that pattern?
I mean, I'd say, you know, almonds are pretty good and if they have a nut allergy, I'd say I find out which type of fruit has vitamin C that would give them that burst of energy to get them back up. Because then they're going to have a little bit of a break, it sounds like. But like I said, my son, he'll do almonds. I put this in a little bag to take with him to give him some energy. As far as also in your pantry, I mean, again, to me, it's a conversation with the kids.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get things and they don't like it.
Right.
And then they didn't eat. So the last thing the thing I would do is take them to the grocery store with you and start to have that conversation about things that they like. And, you know, I would talk to them before you go, and do not go to the grocery store hungry. My husband tells me this all the time, because then you're buying things and they come back and they go bad. And there are things that you don't want or need. Have the conversation. Let's just talk about what green vegetables do you like? Google them yourself. Start to say, I have one son that says, okay, I like peas. I like Brussels sprouts. Another son is like, I like broccoli. I like string beans. Another son is like, I like when you put asparagus and stuff. And then if they have a common one, it's like, great. That can probably go in a stir fry or something like that I can put in a rice all together, you know, for them, and probably sneak in some chops. I sneak in kale and everything, to be honest. I put because it's a green vegetable that people don't have as much, and that they don't realize how good it is for you. And because it's so, you know, big and leafy and rough, I kind of like massage it and I chop it. I put it in spaghetti. I think it's yeah, I mean, when I say I put it on everything, I sneak it in everything. They just think it's fresh herbs. I cut it up, I saute it and everything. And before you know, it's like, oh, your child eats all the pasta. Do they have trouble going to the bathroom? Absolutely not, because the pasta has kale.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. I see what you're doing here. I see it.
See what I'm doing?
I see it. And I'm noting it. I'm taking notes. So for, you know, you fear what you don't know. We know this, right? So what are some solid evidence-based resources for parents and young athletes that, you know, to get the 411 on transitioning to a vegan lifestyle in a way that's simple and not overwhelming, if that's something they want to explore further?
I mean, I would do research. One, I would talk to your physician just to see and see where you're at, see where your levels are. I always make sure that I see where my kids are do your blood work to figure out where you are. Because your doctor can normally tell you what the child or what you need to eat more of. They're going to say when they do your blood work, you know what, you need a little bit more iron. And then you can do the research and figure out, okay, what veggies or grains have the things that I need. And then figure out, how do I want to prepare it? Because there's so many different ways that you can make something, like zucchini. You can have that as zucchini chips. You can have it chopped up, sauteed in something. You can have that as like a zucchini swirl, like it's like a spaghetti. So there's so many different ways that you can prepare food. Go to your physician, figure out where you are, and then do the research and figure out, you know, how can I make sure that I can bring my levels where they need to be for my age. And then what I need to eat, you know, to maintain a good lifestyle, a clean lifestyle for yourself. I've had some people come into my restaurant and say, I haven't gone to the bathroom in like 2 weeks. And so I'm like, okay, so what, it happens. No judgment, it happens. And I'm like, okay, so when's the last time you had something green? And when they're like, okay, so right. And I'm looking like, well, let's start there. How about we make you a green juice? We'll put kale and spinach, cucumber, celery, all these things. Let's just try to get it to you faster. Because sometimes they don't want to eat it, but they might drink it. Let's just add some green apple in there, put some ginger, spice it up a little bit for you. Okay, you haven't had a salad in a minute. You don't really like spinach. Okay, will you drink it? Maybe they'll drink it.
So you're like Dr. Vegetable.
Right, Dr. Vegetable. Like, you want to drink it?
Like,
you want to eat it?
Your problem.
You want to massage it?
Like all that. We're going to figure out a way to get what God has created and put that in your system so you can get those waste and toxins and bacteria out of your body.
That's what you need to put on the food truck, Dr. Vegetable.
Dr. Vegetable.
That's what I have on the food truck says, eat better, feel better. Because a lot of people coming are just like, I know. But I love your suggestion too.
So are there any websites or books? I know we talked about Game Changers earlier, but websites or books that you think that you would suggest?
Yeah, so Dr. Ian Smith actually just came out with a book. Really? I just ordered mine. I don't have it yet, but I've seen him in the media lately, where he talks about where he's really trying to help people transition. Like give you a slow transition. It's like, okay, how do we just start to take the meat and dairy away? He was just on Good Morning America. So I loved how he was helping people transition. My book comes out in about 2 weeks. It's called,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's called Running for My Life. And so I'll be publishing in 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. I share my entire journey, my ups and downs, just being a mom of 3, an athlete, and my stumbling things that have happened in my life, and how I ended up being vegan. And then I have roughly, I think, around 30 recipes in the back.
Wow.
And then a little workbook.
Tell me the name. You cut out again. I want to hear the whole name of the book.
Yeah, Running for My Life.
Nice. And how can people purchase that?
They'll be able to purchase on Amazon, or they're going to be able to purchase on my website at www.exposedvegan.com.
Nice. I'm writing this down for everybody. Purchase on, and you said 2 weeks, right?
Yes. 2 weeks. That's my deadline.
And what's the website name one more time?
www.exposedvegan.com.
Nice. Okay. I want to make sure.
I'm putting it here on Instagram.
Yeah, great. So you can buy Zsa Zsa's book in 2 weeks, Running for My Life. You can purchase that on Amazon or her website, exposedvegan.com. I'm so excited. I didn't know you were doing a book. That's great.
In the midst of a food truck and a restaurant, and preparing for Ironman, and raising 3 kids.
I documented my whole journey this past year and a half. Wow. Just because I wanted to share it with people, and because people come into the restaurant all the time, I don't always have time to talk to them.
Yeah.
So I figured, I'd put it all, I'd write it down and put it in a book to share.
Oh, I feel like I just need to go do more with my life after today. So I'm gonna work on that. You're amazing. You're just amazing, and
Well, you have to
congratulations on
check
all
in
of it.
with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
absolutely will be having you back for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's fantastic.
So, Zsa Zsa, we like to give homework around here. Oh, wait, I have a question. Sounds cool. I've been thinking about pescatarian or vegan for a while. Anchored forever. So it sounds like vegan. Go vegan. Go for it. Zsa Zsa just gave you all of these tips.
Yeah,
So,
here's the thing. I have done that. You know, we've talked about this. I have done this in shorter amounts of time, like 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. My husband and I have done this. I have autoimmune disorders, and 100% I feel much better, less everything when I'm eating a plant-based or a vegan diet.
mm,
Absolutely, 100%. It's just we have not
Life.
committed to that. Yeah, it's life.
Life. Yeah.
It's so I know, okay, I need some
Yeah.
meat. And that's the thing, the bacon always gets me.
Yeah.
the bacon.
Gosh darn bacon.
I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it. Bacon is definitely,
The death
and
of me, and
there's,
cheese
yeah,
and cheese. But I did find a good vegan cheese that
yeah,
I enjoyed. It was very
yeah,
hard to do because they're not very good sometimes. So
yeah.
it's
So the thing that I love about cheese, if you want like the cheesy melt cheese,
yes.
I have this in my cookbook. You can use some of those shredded vegan cheeses, but
Yeah.
if you get autumn squash, put
Okay.
the vegan cheese in there, put nutritional
Oh,
yeast, put it in a blender. It looks like cheese.
get out
You
of
can put
town.
that over macaroni. This is my cookbook. This is a freebie. But
Right.
yeah,
Oh
that
my
looks
gosh.
like it's like my kids,
Autumn
they used to
squash.
like autumn squash.
Oh,
Oh my
I'm
You
gosh.
can use those the yellow orange because if you want the color, you know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cheddar vegan cheese, because those don't melt well. That's the only thing. Like
No, they
if you
don't.
want to have, they don't melt at all. So you put it in the blender.
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna do this
Oh,
with my
Yeah,
Sunday bags.
yeah,
I'm gonna do
yeah,
that as well.
yeah.
I am
Yep,
oh.
doing
that's a
it.
freebie. Autumn
Because you know,
squash,
you
bean
always
cheese,
see, yes,
nutritional yeast,
yes,
and
because
put
you
that all in there.
see the
Mm-hmm.
vegan like mac and cheeses that are all creamy, and you just sit
Yeah.
there and go, I tried that
I
and it
tried
did
that, and
not
it
look
did
Yeah,
like
not
yeah.
look
You
like
that.
that
can't
at
do it with
all.
the shredded, no, because they don't melt the same. You got to put it in the
Ah,
blender.
okay.
Oh.
You know, we're gonna try it.
Oh, we're getting there. We're
Yep,
gonna do it. So
See,
we
and
like to
that
give.
didn't have to be complicated, right?
yep,
It's not that complicated.
yep.
So, yeah,
I'm gonna
there you go.
get some
Oh,
squash this
and
weekend.
you could put a white potato to make it a little thicker. If you want to add
Oh,
just boil a white potato, and if you want to do that for like an Alfredo type thing, a white potato, that vegan cheese that doesn't melt, put it in the blender with some you can do almond milk, whatever your liquid is, put it in the blender. Make it thick.
oh my gosh. You might have just changed my life.
Change your whole entire life.
I told you my
You might
issue
have
was
done
ice
it.
cream and cheese.
Oh, all
So
right.
I
So
make my own.
give us the ice
Yeah,
cream
the
because
ice
you
cream.
got to
We're
tell
supposed to
the
have the
ice
ice
Oh,
cream.
let
cream.
me see. If I didn't eat it.
All right. I want to see because there is
Here's
one that I
one
like. I want to see if
so delicious. I like
yes, that is
yes,
it. The
Wait, what? This is good? So delicious.
snickerdoodle.
cookie dough. Cookie
I,
dough.
I like the
And there's another
snickerdoodle.
one that I like. I think my other son likes that one. This is almost gone. Mine is gone. There's another one that I
It's
found at
sad though.
Walmart.
Like you can really take that whole thing out pretty quick. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
And it's not as bad for you as the other
Mm-mm.
ones.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Because the other ones, I'm like looking all bloated and stuff. And I'm like, yep, vegan ice cream, baby.
That snickerdoodle. I'm saying don't sleep on the snickerdoodle. It is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Wow. Okay, now I have to go. So my homework is I'm going to get some so delicious ice cream. But we need to give all of our viewers homework. So Zsa Zsa, we like to give homework here between this Friday and the next Friday when we are back on. What is one action that you want our listeners to take between now and then to make progress in this area?
I want them to take note of how many greens they're having throughout the week.
Okay.
And try to double that. And note how much better or how much energy you have. And that doesn't mean that's your only meal. Right. So it doesn't mean that you're having greens and then you're starving yourself. Be kind to your body. This is just you taking in more greens, and you're going to notice there's going to be things that are changing when you go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just what happens. And if you're having trouble with that, you can drink it. So that is an option. And if you're in the Charlotte area, come to Exposed Vegan. I'll make it for you.
And Zsa Zsa says, massage your kale.
Massage the kale.
We'll put that on the shirt.
Massage the kale.
Massage the kale.
Dr. Vegetable says, massage the kale.
She has a new name.
Yeah. I love it. That might be the next book. Right.
Dr. Vegetable. Well, Zsa Zsa, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Please give everybody your website and social media handles and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So my website is www.exposedvegan.com. You can find me on Instagram under EXP Vegan. You can find me on Facebook, Exposed Vegan. I also have YouTube, Exposed Vegan. I'm on LinkedIn under Exposed Vegan.
It's all Exposed Vegan.
It's all Exposed Vegan. And on Twitter, Exposed Vegan. And I'm gonna make a TikTok. Right now you can follow me, Zsa Zsa Poerter, on TikTok, but I'm gonna make a separate one called Exposed Vegan.
Do you love TikTok? TikTok's been fun for us. We've started doing TikTok and are having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I'm totally having a lot of fun. I mean, I love to do videos. I love to show everybody what I'm doing and add music to it. I mean, why not have fun? Like, if anything, you gotta live.
It's a good time. Right. It's a good time. Melissa's getting there.
Yeah, I'm getting there. TikTok, anyway, I'll get there.
She's got a love-hate with TikTok right now.
Yeah, I do. I totally have a love-hate with TikTok. But so Zsa Zsa has given you your homework. We also still have our homework every week that we have. Make sure you take the STEPS module, the module in the STEPS initiative. It was the impetus of the entire Beyond the STEPS series.
Right.
Is dropping that in the chat. It has things you can learn about nutrition and psychology and racism and equity and gender equity and integrative dance and inclusion and just a number, and sex abuse and prevention, which is very important in our space right now. Hopefully we're taking steps in a positive direction there. Also, our friends at YPAD have given you 25% off using the code Apollo25 on courses that are absolutely amazing and informative and can definitely help you keep us safe, healthy, and happy as we dance. Zsa Zsa gave you all of her handles. It's Exposed Vegan, except on Instagram where it's EXP Vegan. But make sure you follow her. If you are in the Charlotte area, she has a food truck and a restaurant, and there's a book coming out in 2 weeks. So please, please, please follow and make sure you keep her in your sights there.
Yeah, it's hard not to. She's everywhere.
Right. It's everywhere.
Amazing. Zsa Zsa, thank you so much for being here. You guys, this week, you're going to double your greens. You're going to keep track of your greens. You're going to double it. Whatever you're eating in greens, double it. That's what Zsa Zsa wants you to do, Dr. Vegetable. And you're going to massage that kale. You're going to go get that Solicious ice cream and snickerdoodles because it's good. But she likes cookie dough. Saying don't sleep on snickerdoodle. And next week we are going to be back Friday at April 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern, right back here. We're going to be talking with Rosalind Harley, and we're going to talk about what are the mental health challenges facing dance educators, because if they don't heal their trauma and they pass that on to the kids they're teaching, then we have a whole nother problem. Make sure you follow Zsa Zsa on Exposed Vegan on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok coming soon. Keep an eye out for that, and get that book in 2 weeks. And make sure you support Zsa Zsa that way. I'm gonna go, do something with my life today. I gotta find a way to level up after having this conversation. So
not gonna run an Ironman triathlon. Not doing that.
I might,
but I'm gonna do something.
I might die slowly if I try. But we're gonna be right back here next week. Until then, we hope you enjoy your journey beyond the steps. Continue learning, and we'll see you all next week. Zsa Zsa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.